Hey, welcome back, folks. We are live on the Practical Dev stream. My name is Nick Taylor. I'm a lead software engineer at Forum. Forum is the software that powers dev.
Uh, s- Someone has their thing not muted, I think, because I can hear it repeating. So someone has their their twit. Hold on.
It's
Is it
not,
you?
is it you? Yeah.
I
I
I
don't
did.
think so. Hold on. Hold on. I think it's hidden on my computer somewhere.
I did. I was listening to a stream and I had two windows
I
open.
found it. It was hidden.
Aha!
It was me. I was
Revealed.
the culprit. Okay. I'm Christina Gorton, the open source community manager at Forum. And today we have Cassidy Williams with us. Cassidy, tell us about yourself.
Hello, I exist. Um, I like to make memes and dreams and software.
Memes and dreams.
And mechanical keyboards and music. I like to make things, and I typically write React. I sometimes dabble with some Next.js as well. I work at Netlify, and I like to make memes. I think that's a good
Nice,
summary.
nice. I will
Memes
say
and
you are a
dreams
good.
makes you sound like Willy Wonka.
Yeah,
Well, you are a great meme maker. I'll give you that for sure.
thank you.
Um,
Thank you very much.
all right. So she exists, as she mentioned. What should we get to first? You wanna? We can talk about anything first. You wanna go Next.js, mechanical keyboards?
I wore my dev sweatshirt
Oh,
today
nice,
in
nice.
honor of the stream. It's also summer
You
in
shirt,
Chicago.
even though we're talking about next.
Well, we can say
The
next.
AC is on very high because of how hot it is outside, but I wore the sweatshirt anyway.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, why don't we talk about maybe next first? Want to do that?
Sure.
All
I'd
right.
love to talk about next. We had a bunch of big announcements yesterday.
Big ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they big ones. I enjoyed the hype. It was very fun to be in the Discord and stuff. But I admit all of the features that came with Next 11, I admit I was like, I don't know if this should have been a major release
Okay.
because I mean, it's very cool stuff, but it didn't really affect me that much. I'm kind of just like, yeah, good for you folks. That's great. Hooray! Yeah.
Yeah, so they
Well, then let's talk about the things you do like with next
Next is
already.
cool. Well, and I can here, actually, I'll drop in the chat. I have a Next starter project that might be useful for people up to date with Next.js 11.
I
Ooh.
saw
Um,
that.
What's cool about Next is that it's a React framework. And so if you like React but you don't want to deal with setting up routes, it's really nice for setting up your routes because it does file-based routing. So if it has a pages directory, you can add a contact.js, and then if you go to your website slash contact, voila, it has a page. And
Okay.
so that part is really, really nice. And in those JavaScript files that you put in there, they are React files, but they're also funky because it has both like a React browser context in there as well as a Node context. And so
Okay.
in that Node context, that's where you query APIs. And so you pull in data and stuff that you then populate into your pages. And then the rest you can write as a regular React application where you can pull in your components as needed and stuff. But it's pretty cool in that regard where you don't have to set anything up and for your routes. That being said, I'd say those are all the really cool pros of Next. It can handle every CSS framework, CSS in JS that you want to use, TypeScript. You can have a really nice JS config and it'll all work for you. The one con that I have with Next.js that I've been trying to figure out how can I change this, how can I update this is with state management. If you
Yeah.
want to share state across different routes, it's
Okay.
all or nothing. Which for
Uh,
something like authentication, that's great. You can say, okay, I've logged in, and then at the top level, you have a user that goes to all of your routes. But if
Yeah.
you only want to share things across like two routes,
mm.
you can't do that. unless you do
Okay.
something really funky with like adding React Router to it and doing something hairy in there. And
Okay.
so those are the very high level pros and cons of Next. But it is, I will say, it's really fun to work with. I've been really deep diving into Next over the past year, and it's been interesting. And they've hired like the Webpack 5 or one of the Webpack maintainers, and they have
Yeah.
full Webpack 5 support now, and there's a lot of cool bundling and stuff that happens under the hood.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's
speaking of working on it for the last year, you've done the Jamstack, right? The Explorers, that
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Jamstack Explorers, I think it's explorers.netlify.com. Let's find out. Explorers.netlify.com. I'm just gonna put it in the chat, and if it's a lie, I'm sorry. Um,
Nick got it already in the chat.
oh wow,
We're
okay,
good.
great. It's the
I
truth. This is actually a Next.js site.
oh, no
And
way.
so it's yeah, and so our team built it, and it's Next.js. It uses Hasura as a database. It uses Sanity as a CMS. It uses Cloudinary for all the images and video. And
Okay.
the video part is really cool. We upload the lessons, and it actually programmatically adds the intro and the conclusion and like the player
Oh, no
stuff
way.
with Cloudinary. Yeah, that part is really really neat how it compiles the videos that way. Um, yeah, what else? What other technologies? Oh, and Shopify as well, which I think this is going to be announced in like the next few days, and so secret. But we have a reward system where as you complete missions and stuff in Jamstack
Yeah.
Explorers, you'll be able to get a coupon for free stickers in the Netlify swag store and stuff,
Nice.
and so
Nice.
that has a cool Shopify integration as well.
Yeah.
We were all motivated by stickers.
Yes, same.
Yeah, yeah, I did do the Next.js Jamstack Explorers. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of funny because when your coworker Jason Langsdorff was on, like right before the stream, like we're gonna talk about this, and Jamstack Explorers, and we're like, go! We did the whole stream, like completely forgot to talk about Jamstack Explorer, so I'm glad we're kind of talking about it because it, from what I can't remember if I read it in a blog post or maybe somebody tweeted out, but Jason or somebody on your team was saying that you mob program that whole thing, and that sounds like that must have been a
Yeah,
really cool experience.
it was a blast, and yeah, that was on our podcast. Our team's podcast is
Okay.
called Remotely Interesting. It's remotely interesting. It's self-explanatory, or describing. But anyway, yeah, we did mob programming throughout, and that's what's really fun on our team. We try to do some kind of mobbing session, somewhat weekly. And so, for
Okay.
example, a couple days ago, we did a mobbing session where it was just write a blog post in this time. And so
Okay.
we talked a little bit about the beginning, what we wanted to do, and then all of us were able to write either full blog posts or most of a blog post in that one session and stuff. And it's really nice to be able to bounce ideas off of each other, have someone driving, as we say, where they're the ones doing the writing or the coding or whatever, and
Yeah.
then we can all talk about it, learn from it, explain through it. And especially when some person has a specialty around something, then like for example, when we were first setting up a lot of the Next things, I was driving and I was able to say, okay, here's how this kind of function works, this kind of function works. And then
Okay.
Jason, for example, who has done Cloudinary forever and is really, really good at Cloudinary, he would take over and do that sort of thing. And everybody would kind of drive at different times. And it was a great way to learn from each other and then also just make sure the code was good too.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a lot of fun. Like we do pair programming on the stream, and like we ship things pretty often at on forum, but we haven't really done any. I can't think of any mob programming we've done, but I think that would be
No, I
something
was just
fun to do.
thinking that would be the fun lunch and learn because we've been talking about doing lunch and learns. We should just
Yeah,
do
yeah,
one of those.
Ooh,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
oh, that would be fun. I see Phil's in the chat too.
Yeah,
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about boy bands or
Yeah,
a jailed gig.
the
yeah.
Webpack 5.
Yeah, it sounds like Sammy Davis Jr. or like Frank Sinatra. Yeah, it's like Oceans. Never mind. I don't.
Yeah.
That's all
I think we got into a boy
Ocean's
band talk
11?
the
Is
other
that
day,
what
Yeah,
you're
didn't we?
about to
yeah.
say?
Well, I was trying to make some funny joke about like it's the next movie, but it was terrible.
Oh, I love
Right.
that band, Ocean's 11. Brad Pitt is just a crooner.
There's only one boy band that has my heart. Always
Mm.
has.
Yeah.
Well, you got to tell us now.
Extra.
Okay.
Backstreet
Yeah.
Boys. We talked about this before on here, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
sure.
I know. I just wanted you to publicly acknowledge it again. That's all.
Backstreet Boys.
I feel that.
I,
That
Yeah.
was like my husband Joe is very into the Backstreet Boys and like can sing every song in the album word for word and everything and
Oh yeah,
stuff.
me
And
too. Yeah.
yeah, and so when we actually got married and we were going to do like father-daughter dance, mother-son dance and stuff, he and his mom danced to Backstreet Boys for theirs.
Ah, nice.
You know.
I was not that cool when I got married. My dad would have been like, "What? It's okay, Dad."
Yeah.
yeah, I forget who is.
My mom did take me to the concerts though, so she would have danced with me.
Oh yeah, she would have had a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll stop talking about boy bands now. Go ahead. Go back to the chance.
Enough Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold that over you.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, just a bit more about Next. I like from my own personal experience, I've been working with it on an open source project that I contribute to, but that's pretty much the extent of my experience with it. I'm pretty familiar with React, but there's like you were saying about like the node context, there's a lot of cool stuff. Like I really like the get static props, like just being able
Yeah.
to, like you're saying, hook into the APIs and then like just SSR that stuff, server side render that stuff, and then it's static markup once the
Yeah.
page loads. I think that's super cool. There's like
Yeah, I love that, especially if you are running it as a fully static site, being able to pull everything. If you do it in get static props, I know you know this, so I'm not trying to explain this to you. But for
I know, go
others who
ahead.
don't know,
No, tell me.
yeah. So if you call an API in get static props, let's just say you're pulling in blog posts or something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You could say, hey, CMS, I want to pull in all of my blog posts, and you call the API. It'll generate those pages, and then in your bundle, it doesn't call that API again. It already exists and is built. And so what's nice about that is you don't ever get rate limited when people are querying your different pages on the site. You just
Yeah.
automatically have it because it was called at that build time, which is really, really powerful and can also allow you to save a lot of processing time for images and stuff too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I haven't used it yet. It's something I'm gonna put in place on the open source project I'm working on. But I think you can set like cache headers so that even that part expires, I think, and then then you still get like all the static goodness, but then like I don't know, 2 days later you say just dump it and get the latest. I think that's pretty neat too, and like you were talking about the routing, like just with the pages directory and the templating, because like I don't want to give away any spoilers from the Jamstack Explorers. I'll just say Pokemon and leave it at that. But it's just a really nice way to create multiple pages, especially from just pulling from that API and stuff. What else?
I've been thinking about playing with some other React goodies and stuff because as much as I like Next, again, that one state management thing across all the routes, that's my one gripe, and I want to see if I can solve it. And so I've been looking into a bunch of other just options out there, and what's been cool is playing around with Vite, which I think it was made by a lot of people who use Vue, but using React with Vite was so fast. And I know that they have scripts that allow you to server render certain pages or statically generate pages, and so I thought that might be kind of interesting to try to do it with that. And then also, have you seen Astro that came out this past week?
Yeah,
I have not looked at it, but I have seen it.
You've seen the chatter.
I've seen the chatter. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems cool, and it seems like it might be the solution that I'm looking for, where I can have a Next-like experience while also having my state management that I want. And so I'm wanting to dabble. People are saying TIL, it's pronounced Vite. I also learned that recently. I was pronouncing it Vite, like bite, but apparently it's French. So
yeah, that's the thing. I speak French because where I live in Montreal. So like when I first read it, I was like, oh, it's Vite, because I figured, oh, Americans just called it no, so they called it Vite probably. And then I clued in because like speed, and I'm like, oh, Vite. Okay, yeah, because like for those who don't know, Vite in French means fast. So anyways,
I know.
Now I know.
It's in Spanish land.
yeah, wait.
Rápido.
Yeah, so, yeah. But yeah, no, Vite looks really cool. I was speaking to Sunil Pai
It's
a little while back.
amazing.
He was saying,
Like I
sorry,
think for if go ahead. So
no, you go, you go.
Yeah, you're cutting off a little. Go ahead. Go, Nick. Go. Say what you said.
No, I was just gonna say I was speaking to Sunil Pai, and he was saying because he works at Morgan Stanley, I think now, and he was
Mhm.
saying like he works off these Citrix machines, so they're like I don't know what you would call it, Citrix, almost kind of like a dumb terminal, I guess. And like it's so
okay.
slow, like it's kind of like going into a VM, but the resources for it are so slow that like build times were
Yeesh.
like just wild with Webpack. No shade against Webpack, because Webpack is what probably brought on Vite. Um, but
Right.
yeah, he was saying when he moved it over to Vite, like the build times, the difference was huge, and in that particular kind of environment he's working in, it was like a major like DX win. So
Yeah, I did a live stream just trying out Vite for the first time a few weeks ago, and
okay,
if I'm going to be doing just a React app, a vanilla like SPA type React app, I will be using Vite instead of Create React app from now on. It was so fast to just get it up and going. Like even the build on Netlify when I pushed it, I think it was done in less than 10 seconds. And granted it wasn't a huge application, but
yeah,
still it was great. And I'm really impressed with it so far.
yeah, it's from what I read, because I was uh during our cooldown week at forum, I because we're a Rails app, and we use Webpacker, which integrates Webpack with Ruby, sorry, with Ruby on Rails.
Hmm.
And I did a fun test to just try out Vite. Somebody created a Vite Ruby package, so like build times went from like 30 seconds to like milliseconds, which was because I didn't realize at first. It was only after
Dang.
I read when you're running Vite locally, like during development, it doesn't bundle anything. It just uses native ESM. So that's why it's super fast in that environment. But from what I know, from what Sunil was saying, it uses rollup when it bundles, like for production.
Hmm.
I've never used rollup myself, but it's apparently a lot faster. And because it uses ES build, which is written in Go, which is supposed to be like blazing fast too. So I have no metrics at
Yes,
least.
build. That's a whole other speed thing. We've
Yeah,
been we've been dabbling with a lot of it internally, and there was I forget which project it was, and I also don't want to name anything in case things are secret. But there was one project that a person was working on internally, and the build time it went from like a minute 10 seconds to 6 seconds, and so fast. Where we're just like, did something go wrong? And it
yeah,
didn't. It was just that fast. And that part is so exciting to think about just the speed that is coming our way.
yeah. And
And I'm looking at the site now. I've never heard of this, so this is the first time I've heard of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
yeah,
Lots of learning today.
I'm trying to remember who created it. I don't remember the name, the person who created it, but they've worked on some other project. And but anyways, yeah, it's in Go, so it like because all the current bundlers are written in JavaScript, and you know there is, I
Hmm.
guess there's only so fast things can go. um
Yeah.
and it seems like there's a lot of people are starting to get on the Vite train or like ES build directly. And what was I gonna say? I think Phil dropped the name of who it is, maybe. uh Zim Zimenaf.
They'll
Nope.
probably drop
Nope. They're
something.
just saying hi to someone in the
Oh,
Ah,
hi
okay.
chat.
to Jimena. Hi,
But
Jimena. Hi, Griffin. Oh man, there's so many fun people we know. So
I was gonna ask you, because correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think there's a setting when you, because I host my site on Netlify. I think there's a setting where you can enable ES build now. Is that right?
yeah. Yeah, I think there's a flag that you can add in your netlify.toml or to
Okay.
check somewhere, so you can do it. But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. No,
Bill,
there's.
no, I was just gossiping. Come on, Philip.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah,
I
no,
between Go and then Rust, everybody's been dabbling with those two languages, and I admit I
Nick.
started playing with Go, and I was just like, oh, this is too much like C, and I was just taken back to my comp sci days, and I was like, I'm never writing C again. But Rust seems interesting.
yeah,
And I know that I think Chris Biscardi, he's working on a static site generator in Rust called Toast,
yeah,
Mhm.
and it's pretty dang fast. And I'll be interested to see like how that develops over time and with the serverless functions and all that jazz.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
for
to
sure.
plug Nick real quick, he's learning Rust. He streams about it every week. If you want to join
Yeah,
Nick,
yeah.
learn Rust.
I guess I should shamelessly plug myself too. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I've done like C# in back in the day, and I've been doing TypeScript for a long
Mems.
time. So like moving towards something like, I mean, Rust is statically typed as well. So like the generics and all that stuff, like it didn't really seem that difficult to transition for that kind of stuff. But uh, it's kind of interesting how they take the immutability approach first. I think it makes sense. It's just I've never worked in a language where immutability is the default. I think I haven't worked with
Mm.
functional programming languages aside from functional programming patterns. So I don't know if all functional programming languages are immutable by default. I would guess, but
They kind of are, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
haven't done
it's
functional languages in a long time. Like I did like full on Racket and Scream and like Lisp stuff with the parentheses and everything, where you'd have like 10 parentheses in a
okay.
row for some functions. But it's been a while and I kind of miss it. I think it could be fun. And so whenever I hear about Rust, how it has some of that in there, I'm like, ooh, I could have
Yeah.
some functionality back. Kind of cool.
Yeah, no, it's really cool because like I've never worked with I've only worked with managed memory in like so like C#'s
Mhm.
managed memory, you got your garbage collection, same with JavaScript. So Rust is kind of like taken from the roots of I guess C and C++ where you have to manage the memory, but it's really interesting how they do it and I'm definitely no expert at it yet, but it's like these move semantics, so it's like to avoid like modifying data, like you can only modify things like once it's in the current variable. So like if you're like you set
Mm.
something like some variable equals some value and then you pass it into a function, it's only the function that can modify it now. And it's I don't know if I'm explaining that super well, but it's just like
That
it's
makes sense.
it's a way to, because one of their guarantees is avoiding like kind of race conditions and stuff, and guaranteeing that stuff's there. So it's a lot of interesting stuff. It's just I'm still a super noob at it, but I know, yeah, a lot of other people are doing it too. Like a couple other folks we had on the stream, like Aisha Blake, she's doing it.
Oh yeah, she's been doing it.
Yeah, so yeah, no, it's
It seems very cool. I like the idea of it. I just haven't done that low level stuff in so many years where I'm kind of nervous to get back into it. And like when you say memory management, do you straight up have to do malloc type stuff, or
uh,
or is it
I don't think so
okay at
because
that?
I did like
Okay.
1 year of C++ in university, and so like I know you have to like explicitly allocate memory. I don't think you need to in Rust. It's more like the way it's
Okay.
written, whatever you set, the way the language is built, you're always guaranteed if you're going to access something, it's going to be there. Um,
Hmm.
Again, I'm still a noob, so I'm
That's
sure
cool.
somebody else can say it a lot better than me. But
I'm curious about it. This has motivated me. I guess I'll try. We'll see how it goes.
you heard it here first. Cassidy's learning Rust. Um,
Oh no.
uh, everyone bother her on Twitter now if she doesn't stream about it soon.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh no.
Rust.
So, um,
Panic.
aside from Next, I mean, you do so many things. I'll be honest, it boggles my mind how many things you've done. It's like so amazing. Like you
Oh,
advise,
thank you.
you advise stuff. You do your own stream. You work in Netlify. I think you run your own podcast. Like there's like honestly, I feel like you literally do everything on the planet, and it's all amazing stuff. Like you're definitely one of the helpers in the community. So it's like everything you do is it's just really great.
Thank
Find the
you.
helper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I like helping.
Just
Sorry, just thinking of my kids when you tell them to, find a helper, all
yeah,
this.
yeah. It's
She's the
Yeah.
helper. Find the helper. Find Cassidy.
but like
uh, I will be dropping links for Cassidy's many, many things in a little bit. She has newsletters. She has all
I
the
have
things.
things.
What the
Everything
hell?
but sleep.
yeah,
Yeah, well.
Eh.
eventually. but there's like, I mean, you definitely have a lot of hobbies too, at least from the stuff I've seen on your streams or what you've, because I've caught your stream, and you're a big fan of Go. I've never played Go myself. For the
We could talk about
yeah,
Go.
yeah, for
Let's
the
talk
Oh
about Go.
man.
uninitiated, what is Go exactly? I know it's a board game, but I don't know the rules. Let's go. No pun intended.
Da, 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 da. Oh no, my book is stuck. Oh, this is a mistake. Look, I have a book on Go. It's a game. So what Go is, I wish I had like an actual Go board next to me. Go is a game where you have a grid,
Okay.
and it's usually a 19 by 19 grid. And I'm trying to find a good drawing of a whole actual board. You have a 19 by 19 grid. And sometimes you can have smaller ones like 13 by 13 or 9 by 9. But typically a Go board is a 9 by 9 or a 19 by 19 grid, and there's black and white pieces. The goal is to take over as much of the board as possible. It's kind of like Blockus if you've ever played Blockus,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
with just individual pieces.
Okay.
And so what you do is as you place different pieces here and there, you can capture your opponent's pieces. And just if you fully surround an opponent's piece, you capture it. And if you fully surround an opponent's group, like if there's a group of 3 or whatever, if I fully surround this opponent's group, then I capture it. That's all Go is. It's theoretically very simple. It's like one of those minute to learn, lifetime to master kind of games. But what's cool about it is the more you learn it, the more you're just like, Go can be a metaphor for anything in life. Because it's a lot of pattern matching where you're just like, okay, well, I know if they make this shape of group here, I can capture it, but if I try to capture it, then I'll lose out on opportunities over here. And so you have to figure out, okay, order matters. Where do I want to go and when? How do I want to capture certain groups and make little houses of territory and stuff? And it's really, really interesting because a 19 by 19 grid is big. And so as you play, it's almost like a heat map of where you're just like, okay, I know I own this area of territory, but they own this area of territory. How can I take over different parts of it? That's all Go is. You're trying to take over the board. But because it's
Like
such a big board, there's like
chess and
infinite
Risk
combinations.
mixed together.
Kind of. Well, and I first started with chess. Like I've played chess for a long, long time. I started playing Go, I want to say like 6 years ago. I'm not amazing at it. I got all these books in the past year because it turns out one of my teammates, Ben Hong, I don't know if he's been on this stream yet, but he's great.
He will be
Yeah.
Nice,
Oh.
great.
eventually.
He's amazing at Go. Like he actually was the one who gave me these books. He was just like, study this, and I was like, oh no. But he like used to blog about Go, and there have been times where I'll be Googling how certain things work in the game because there's lots of strategies and stuff, and I'll find an answer he wrote like 10 years ago on Reddit of how to play.
I don't want to
certain
play Ben.
Yeah, no, Ben is very good. I actually met him through Go before I even knew that he was on the Vue core team and was this legit developer. I was just like, oh, this person wants to play Go with me, great. And there you go. But pun. But yeah, it's such an interesting game because it's almost like a Rubik's Cube in that it's always the same puzzle, but there's different variations of the puzzle. And so the more you recognize it, like I have a Rubik's Cube right here, where I
just learned how to do it.
Yeah, no,
I did it last week.
I've got like my pile of Rubik's Cubes here. I really like Rubik's Cubes. I like figuring out, okay, I know I can solve it, but what's the more optimal way to solve this part of it? And it's just interesting to think about, which is why I have that cube right there. And it's the same thing with Go, where sometimes I'm just like, okay, I've seen this shape before. What's a more optimal way of capturing it without losing territory over here? And it's really, really fun. And I think especially for developers, it's a really nice like puzzle that you get to solve. And especially with the small boards like 9 by 9, I can play one of those games in like 2 minutes. And sometimes if I'm thinking about a coding problem and I'm just having a mental block, I'll go onto onlinego.com and then just play a quick 9 by 9 game with someone and be just like, okay, that got me like thinking a bit better, and then I can go back. And it's a really, I love playing Go. I try to play it every day.
That's awesome. So you were saying a 9 by 9 board. So I imagine like more the more difficult the boards are just a lot bigger, or is it
Yeah, I wouldn't say difficult. It's just a different style of problem.
okay?
And I learned that later in my playing life that that it's a different style of problem because, like for example, my father-in-law, he's been playing Go for like decades. He's really really good at Go. Um, when I first started playing him, we only did the 19 by 19 boards, and I would make a move, and he's just like, "Okay, you can go there, but you should know this is what I'm about to do." And then he'll show like the next 20 moves. I'm like, "How do you even see that?" And
Yeah.
then when we
That's my
played nine,
father-in-law with chess. I'm
yeah,
just like, stop it.
yeah, that's like my ultimate goal, so to someday be able to beat him. But oh my gosh, I still have a really big handicap with him. But anyway, with the 9 by 9 boards, it's very, very different because every move you make is much more significant because
Okay.
it's a smaller board. And so when you place that, you get a lot of territory with every single piece. But that also means you lose a lot of territory with every single piece. And so it's a
Okay.
different style of problem. Like someone could be a major pro in 9 by 9s, but be terrible at 19 by 19s and vice versa.
Oh,
Mm.
that's really cool. And like you
Yeah,
said, it's like
it's really, really interesting.
it's for life kind of, like it's a game you can be on your deathbed and you'd be like, just one more move.
Yeah. Well, and what's cool about it too, I slightly mentioned it, is it has a handicap system built in.
Okay.
And so like unlike chess or something, because it's a grid, for example, with my father-in-law, I get 6 stones on the board ahead of him to start. And so he
Okay.
has to work around those 6 stones and I get that nice
Okay,
little
okay, okay.
bonus. I have worked my way up from a 9 stone handicap, so watch out, world.
Oh, there we go.
Um, but yeah, and so like with every single size of board, you can have handicaps. And what's cool about that is it still is challenging for both people. And so, like against Ben, for example, because I have such a big handicap with Ben, we can
Yeah.
still play what is an even game because of the handicap. And so you can always
Okay.
have fun with someone and be just like, I won. And you don't have to be just like, oh, I won, but it was with a handicap. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
won because it was on even playing ground. And
Yeah.
I love that aspect of it.
No, that definitely sounds cool, and it's a great way to learn because then, like, yes, you have a bigger handicap maybe because you're learning, but you obviously will gain more experience. So it's I
Right.
I haven't seen any other games that do that, I don't think. I mean, there's handicap in golf, but it's not the same thing. But trying to
Yeah.
think of any other
But
games that
Bowling.
do that.
When you get the bumpers. That's
yeah,
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, well, and there have been times where like I'll be playing with Ben and he'll just say, "Okay, I'm gonna make a move that's gonna make no sense," and I'll be like, "Okay," and then he'll make a move. I'm like, "You're right, this makes no sense." But then he can say, "But here's what happens when you make this kind of move," and then I have learned that pattern and I can apply that in later games, and it's so fun because you do really learn a lot from that. Like that exact move that I just mentioned, I think it's called like the tiger's mouth move or something. It's an old
Okay.
one. I did it. I played a game with my husband Joe, and when I played it, he was just like, "What? Why?" And then he's just like, and then I was like, "But try to fight against it." And then when he did, he was like, "Oh!" And so it's really fun. I love Go because you're constantly learning these funky little patterns that make sense once you see it, but you're
Yeah.
constantly solving these interesting puzzles.
No, that's awesome. And I like what you're saying too about like, I mean, it's something we always have to remind ourselves of is like when you get stuck on a problem, just step away, and like you're saying, just
Right.
plain Go, that cleared your head and then, you're back at it, so just friendly reminder to
I also do the opposite where sometimes I'm stuck on a Go problem and I'll step away and then I'll code something and come back and be like, I should go there instead. So it all works out.
Oh, that's awesome. Uh,
Yeah, I
Well,
dropped a
now we know
link
what
to
Cassidy does all day instead of, where her
yeah.
and Ben play Go. Uh,
Yeah, we definitely like there have been times in meetings where like it's not particularly relevant. Ben will be like, I'm not sure where to go here, but I think I'm gonna do this, and I'll be like, ooh, and we'll send each other links to our games. I put online Go in the chat. I also saw in there, is Go a solvable game? Thinking of that AI that beat Grandmasters. Solvable is kind of hard to describe in Go.
Okay.
That AlphaGo, if you want to, AlphaGo is the bot that DeepMind made. There's a really amazing documentary on it. And it's actually been quite an interesting discussion point in the Go community because people are just like, if nobody can beat AlphaGo, like every time someone beats it, it learns and then it gets better. If nobody can beat AlphaGo, is Go solved? Is there any joy in it anymore? And it's been a really interesting like philosophical discussion. Like I've actually joined discussion groups to talk about it and stuff. And the best way that I think of it is that thinking of AI, whether it's Go or in general, is just a way of extending the human experience to be better. Where if you think of, for example, when the crane was invented, the crane probably disheartened a lot of big, heavy people who were able to lift gigantic things. They're just like, well, I'll never be able to lift that giant thing, and this machine can. They probably weren't that disheartened. They now have a machine that can do that, and they don't have to. And it's a very similar thing with AI, where it might think of things that we as humans aren't able to, but we can learn from it, and we can do more with it and stuff. And I think that's what's very cool about AlphaGo is what they've done is they've turned it into a teaching tool where they have like a site where you can go in and you could be just like, okay, I've made these moves. And it says, these are some of the moves that you might want to make. And here's why. And it talks about probabilities. You can use it as like a teaching tool. And I love that. And I know for myself, I'm never going to be a Go Grandmaster. There's just no possible way. For a lot of the people who are professional players and stuff, I think some are very disheartened by it, but a lot of them see it that way, where they're just like, this is something that I can use to improve my game when I play with other people.
Oh, that's cool. I wonder if
it always just makes me think of Avatar: The Last Airbender because they have the Pie Show game that I'm the Pie Show master.
Yes.
I wonder if they could put an AlphaGo against an AlphaGo and then it would just be like extreme learning going on.
They did. They actually did, and to the point where they actually retired the bot because they were just like, this is too powerful. Like, because I forget what the highest level is in the rankings. Like, there's Q rankings where that's like level K. I'm a 7K ranking. And then once you get past K, then there's Dan levels, D levels, and then after that it's P, which is professional levels. I don't know what the P stands for, but I'll just say professional. It got way past the highest professional level, and so they gave the bot like an honorary like highest level of P and then retired the bot because they were just like, this is it.
Yeah, you're the goat.
We want to play without you. Go away.
Yeah. Oh man. So speaking of other stuff you do, it's like, again, like I was saying, you do so many things. I mean, you've I've just seen all these. I always feel weird when I say this, but because you always have to say, like, well, I follow you on Twitter, and that always just sounds weird. But anyway,
I'm stalkerish now. Really.
But
I know everything about you.
But you've done like so many other cool things. Like I know you're big into keyboards. You made a Scrabble keyboard at some point, or the keys at least, or I don't know if it was the keys you sold or if it was just like the whole keyboard. But
it was both actually. And so let's talk about another thing I could talk about for hours. And so specifically with the Scrabble keyboard, for those who don't know, I designed a Scrabble keyboard. You could probably look up Scrabble keyboard and you'll find it. I also wrote a blog post on it, I think, on dev.to. But anyway, I had a dream that I was typing on Scrabble pieces, and I was like, I can make this real. And so I like stayed up late designing a Scrabble keyboard. I was like, this could be awesome. I don't know what to do next. And in Seattle, there's a really big Seattle mechanical keyboard meetup that I helped organize. And when I say really big, it's like 300 or 400 people that come. It's a giant mechanical keyboard meetup, and absolutely loved it. And drop.com was there, and drop.com is where you can buy a lot of keyboard parts. And I basically showed them my design. I was like, can we make this real? And they said, probably, but you are gonna need to get a license. If you can make this, if you can legally make this real, then we'll help you manufacture it. And so yes, thank you, Luke.
Cool.
He posted the link in the chat if you look up drop and Scrabble stuff. But anyway, I cold called just tons of people to try to get a license for this keyboard, and I kept either getting no's or getting people saying I'm not who you're supposed to talk to. And then I think if I recall, the connection I made, I found like a person who used to work at Hasbro, who still had a friend who worked at Hasbro, who knew an account executive, and like it was truly like from a Facebook group or something. And I eventually got in touch with him and was able to get the license. And so once I got the license, I came back to Drop and I was just like, okay, let's make this real. This is what I want to do. And even though I just designed the keycaps, I knew that there's an intersection where it's going to be a lot of keyboard enthusiasts, but there will probably be non-keyboard enthusiasts who just really love Scrabble who might want to get in on this. And so I wanted to make sure that we sold both the keyboard as well as the keycaps themselves. And so we turned it into a thing where I have a bunch of sample keycaps still of original Scrabble keycap stuff and color swatches and stuff. And so after going through the whole process of getting all of that manufactured, we then sold an actual keyboard itself where people could get that, and we made like a how to build your own keyboard blog posts and stuff for people who were very new to the community, and then also keycaps themselves. We also, through Novel Keys, manufactured a Scrabble board. Like it was a gigantic, I forget, 20 by 20 board or something, where each of the switches were specific colors for like triple word score, double word score and stuff. So that way you could play Scrabble with the keycaps. And we sold a bundle of the keycaps where it was called the Scrabble bag, so you could replace your Scrabble tiles with the keycaps.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now, did you do the Astro keys too?
Astrala keys.
Yes.
Yeah,
Astrala keys. That's what it was. Those ones I like personally.
Yeah, and those ones are still. I think those ones are still for sale. I think astralakeys.com, and then they're also on Drop.
Okay.
Yeah,
Don't tell
and
me
those
that.
ones. Get them. I'm like in the middle of moving, so I can't show you any of the boards that I've designed because they're still in storage. But
here, I got Astrala keys.
And so with Astrala keys, that one I wanted to make something that was more unique that would tap into like the non-gamer community, because that's a lot of keycap designs where it's like hardcore, like I'm going to use this as a spy or something. And so I reached out to her name's Amy, Sailor Mercury is her handle on Twitter, and I was just like, would you like to design a cute keycap set with me? Because I know how to design keycap sets. You're very good at cute things. What if we did this together? And luckily she loved the idea, and we just kind of went for it from there. And now if you were to look in the keyboard community, there's like the cute keyboard club, and there's all kinds of cute designs now, and so that's kind of cool to see. But yeah, she ended up designing all kinds of icons. I coordinated all the sets and stuff so it could fit on any size of keyboard. And yeah, we designed Astrala keys together, and so it's like space and also astrology themed.
Very cool.
Yeah, that one I like. I have one of her shirts, and she has adorable, like
she's
cute
so good at
things.
it. And there's also DSS Tekla is one other set that I've made too, and that one I think it's sold just straight on pimpmykeyboard.com. Speaking of Spanish, Tekla is key in Spanish. So this one here, I'll put that in the chat as well. That one, it's actually only partially. So I designed this whole set to be using the DSS profile, which is a relatively new keycap profile on the scene, in that it's a low profile keycap, like it's a short keycap, but it's sculpted, meaning like it has different shapes per row on the board. And so I wanted it to be a really cool mix and match keycap set. And honestly, my designs were just too big, and so Pin My Keyboard, they actually are run by Signature Plastics, which are the manufacturer. They were like, let's start small and then we could get big later. But I had like red and blue and white and black and green and purple, all these different colors where I could have Vim keys, I could have designated WASD keys, WASD, and all of the different keys to be able to make the best mix and match set that you can. And we just have the 3 colors still, but that one I'm proud of, and I'm hoping that I can turn this into a larger group buy where we can have all the colors included. But this profile in particular, the sculpted shape that it is, it's very fun for gaming. And so if you actually are one of those gamer types, I love it because the distinction between the rows is just good enough where you feel like you can move very fast without having to look down at your board ever.
Okay.
Nice.
And I'm kind of curious because I don't have a mechanical keyboard. I'm like the boring person with the Apple keyboard. But like growing up, and I'll growing up like in the 80s, like our first computer. Oh yeah, now I feel awkward here. Check me out. Hey, it's a boring white guy keyboard. Here you go. Uh, but yeah, like growing up in the 80s, like mechanical keyboards were what the keyboards used to be. So like
Yeah.
it sounds funny because like I'm like, why is everybody so into it? It's just like the keyboard like we used to have, and I know that's because I'm not part of the community. Like, do you know what kind of sparked it? Like people were just like, I love
Yeah.
this keyboard, but I just want to pimp my keyboard more, or what was it exactly?
So first of all, those keyboards in the 80s still work today. And I think that's the key part of it. Like I have a friend where he actually had an eBay like ping for finding a Model M keyboard that was made on the day he was born and he finally got one. And that's his daily driver and it's awesome. But like with all of these new keyboards that came in with the rise of computing and all of these just the popularity of computing, the manufacturing of keyboards just became cheaper over time because they had to manufacture more and more. And so the mechanical keyboard hobby started to grow to try to be a return to the quality of those older
Okay.
keyboards. And so that's how it started, and then it exploded. And so it started where people were just like, okay, we want these old quality keyboards again. And then after a while people were just like, okay, we don't just want those, we want them to look good too. And so then that's when people started contacting companies like Signature Plastics, where if you look at SA keycaps, which that's this one right here, the molds that they use for these keycaps are the ones that they used for NASA in like the 70s. Like it's the look of them, the old style look of them is really, really cool and classic. And so a lot of the old group buys that you'll see for keycaps were for these kind of old ones where we were just like, we need to contact manufacturers and all come together so it's cheap enough for us to buy these keycaps. And then as more people came to the scene and more keycap profiles came into play and stuff, people want to be able to customize their look and feel to the extreme. And so it used to be you would have cherry switches and it was basically just the red, blue, brown, green, clear, those switches. And now I can't even count all of the different manufacturers of switches. I have a switch tester right here, and this is only a small fraction of all of the switches that you can use in the world. And so it just became a customization game of people being able to turn this into something that they want, where you can have low profile chiclet style things, but it's still mechanical. You can have this high profile board where I need a wrist rest in order for my hands to even reach everything, but I've got like my clacky feel. You've got the really, really loud switches, the quiet switches. You can do as many customizable things as you want, and it will last for decades. And that is my pitch for why you should have a mechanical keyboard.
I will probably buy one at some point, and I can confirm that they are very reliable. Personal side note, I had a house party before I went to university, and somebody spilled beer all over my dad's keyboard, and I'm like,
oh no.
So me being, I may have had a drink. I decided to put it in the dishwasher. I ran it through the dishwasher, and I kid you not, it dried out and it worked like new, and nothing was
Oh
stuck.
my word.
So
mine wasn't working for a while because my kid dropped some kind of liquid on here and like it just like stopped doing a bunch of things it was supposed to do, but now it works fine. It like dried out and it's all good.
There you go. Oh my gosh.
The one question I have is like, so like people who are enthusiasts, they will buy the keys and the keyboard and then build it themselves. But yourself, for example, where you're like, I want to build the Scrabble keys, did you use like a 3D printer, or did you buy existing keys and then design them, or like what was like kind of the process?
Oh, there's this really fun website that I'm going to pull up and put in the chat called Keyboard Layout Editor. And it's a really nice site where you can design keycaps I just dropped it in there, and it's very, very granular. You actually use like HTML, CSS to,
Okay.
and it outputs a JSON for designing your keycaps in this.
No.
Um, and so I straight up use keyboard layout editor for all my designs. Like I can show you the keyboard, the KLE is the short term. I can show you
Yeah.
the KLE JSON that I have for Astrala keys if you wanted, where it does that, and it saves it as a gist on my GitHub.
Okay.
But I designed the Scrabble keycaps in there. I designed all my keycaps in there, and it actually pulls in Pantone colors. It pulls in like ABS and PLA colors, plastic types and stuff. And so it's really, really great there where you can design it in there, and then there's options from there where some people they'll send this to a 3D modeler where there's some people out there who have made like Blender files that take in the JSON from
Okay.
KLE and then output a 3D model of the keycaps. You could also get a professional to do it where there's people in the community where they'll say, oh, well, you want these colors, but you want this profile. Sure, I can model it, and they'll do that. Lots and lots of options, but this is typically where you start, and then once you design like what you want it to look like and everything, you typically run what's called an IC or an interest check, and you'll put this on geekhack.com, you'll put this on the Mechanical Keyboard subreddit, you'll put it in Discord groups, stuff like that, and once you get enough people interested where they'll sign a form saying, hey, I would buy this, or I would buy this with this tweak or things like that. Once you get
Yeah.
enough interest, that means that you can open up a group buy.
Okay.
And because even though keyboards are popular, they're still not that popular. Manufacturers need you to do some kind of group buy where enough people will buy it that they can justify manufacturing it. And so with hope that the people in your interest check told the truth and would actually buy your keycap set and stuff, you then run the group buy. People give you all the money to manufacture things. You give it to the manufacturer. Manufacturer makes it, they give it to you, and then you mail the
Okay.
keycaps out to everybody. And so that's typically what you do if you yourself want to run a group buy. I like going with someone like Drop, where I'll do the interest check part, but they actually run the group buy and the logistics side of it, and where they can mail it out and they are actually built for that sort of thing. But that's the typical process of making it happen.
Okay. No, that's cool. Yeah, no, it just sounds really fascinating, like the whole process, and I can
Yeah.
totally see getting obsessed with this because not just developers, but developers, it's like, you're tweaking your theme in your editor, you're doing all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
your shortcuts, whatever. So I can totally see folks losing positive hours in there, just like, yeah, I'm coming to
Es-
build, mom. Hold up.
especially because a lot of the keycap sets are designed by developers. A lot of the people in the community are developers, and so
Yeah.
there's so many keycap sets that match IDE themes. And so
Okay.
imagine having your IDE theme and your keyboard matches it. Like there's a solarized
Yeah.
keycap set, so you can have the solarized IDE theme and it's your keyboard too. Oh, it's awesome.
That's wild.
Uh,
Oh man.
just to show that, I'm a mom. We do these same kind of group buys and buy-ins for other things that you want for like kids. Like I was really into like baby wearing when I had my babies, and we did the same thing. If you wanted a cool like ring sling or
Oh,
thing to wear,
cool.
you would get buy-in. So I got like a Lord of the Rings one. It's like a Lord of the Rings map that we had to get buy-in for, and you'd also have to do this like get someone to create it for you and then
That's
pass it out.
awesome
So
though.
same thing happens, and
No,
so yeah,
Cool. I see
it was
Luke
funny
has
listening.
milkshake keycaps. That's what these ones are back here.
I
The
found I
milkshake.
found a botanical key set that I
I
want.
love
Yep, that
GMK Botanical. I regret constantly not getting in on the group buy. Oh, that one, GMK Botanical is very cute. I I really miss my keyboards. Again, I've been in this temporary apartment for like almost 10 months now, and
yeah.
it was supposed to be shorter, but there's a lumber shortage, so when you renovate a place,
Yeah.
it has been taking forever. But I'm going to be able to see my keyboards again like in the next week, and I'm so excited. I talk about them as if they're my babies, but I can't wait to play with some of my keyboards again.
yeah, that must be interesting moving during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So I lived in Seattle beginning of the pandemic, and then
okay.
honestly, we weren't planning on moving. We were just like, oh yeah, maybe by 2022 we'll leave Seattle and try a new city. And then pandemic happened. We were just like, well, we're both working remotely.
In a
Let's
city.
go. And so
Yo,
and so we sold our house and all of our furniture with it, and then packed up the car and moved. And so all of our stuff that couldn't fit in the car has been in a storage facility ever since, and we've been in this apartment. And we got a house earlier this spring that was like older, and so we needed to fix up certain things. But then
yeah.
again, that Suez Canal barge,
Oh yeah.
between like between the chip shortage and the lumber shortage, just everything's ship dates have extended so much. Where we thought we'd
Yeah.
move in March, and now we're just kind of hoping we can in July.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
The nice thing about Costa Rica, because my neighbor does his own lumber and cuts it all down, we just buy from him because you don't have all these like regulations.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's nice. That's pretty nice.
We just buy from him.
yeah. Wait.
Same with gravel. He has a giant gravel pit. We get all our gravel from him. We bring it up here.
Wow, that's so easy. That's amazing. I think I forgot you went to Costa Rica. Like I
Yeah.
know it now that you're saying it, but I forgot that. How was that move?
I was 7 months pregnant and had 3 other kids, so that was fun.
Oh my word.
Wow. Fun plane ride.
Yeah, and then we've moved like 3 times since then, so we're finally in a place where we're staying and
Yeah.
and not moving houses anymore, so it's good now.
Nice. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine how chaotic that was. But yay, I'm glad it's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. No, Costa Rica is super nice and is funny. I forget which stream it was, but Christina's like, "Hold on, I'll be back in 5 minutes. There's a sloth in my driveway." So it's like, you know, so which I don't know if I don't know if you ever seen a sloth, but they're really cute. And
I just know they're slow. That's all I've got.
Yeah, you just happen to be walking across our driveway, which normally they're just up in the trees. So like how could I not go out there?
Yeah, you gotta check out. Did either of you see Zootopia? The Disney
Yeah,
movie?
well, I know the sloth. It's like,
Yeah, we're
yeah.
they just that movie was so cleverly written. I love going back to that one just because there's so many like little subtle jokes in there that they threw in. It's so funny. I love that one.
it's such a perfect pairing for the DMV though. It's oh
Yes,
man.
that was wow. That was you know that they're just like this is
Oh yeah.
we've got to make this the most painful thing
I
possible.
I was born for this role. Yeah. There's Secret Life of Pets too, I think too. That's a good one too. But,
Oh yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen those movies yet, The Secret Life of Pets. I'll have to check those out.
yeah, it's I mean,
I watch all of these because of my kids.
You have 4 children, I understand.
yeah, I don't know. The main thing I remember is Kevin Hart, the comedian, is like this like I think he's like a in charge of a gang, and he's this like nasty rabbit, and it's just really funny. But that's all I really know about it. But anyways,
I'm gonna interject for 1 second just to put in a plug because I just saw it drop today and I know our team's excited about it. Codeland has finally been announced.
Oh,
Codeland
yay!
is Code Newbies conference. It was finally announced today. I'm gonna drop a link. You all should check it out. Let me
Nice.
find the link again. But yeah, just want to drop that real quick while I have people's attention that Codeland was finally announced. Yay! Check out
yeah, no, I'm
the
excited.
CFP if you want to talk and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I think the CFP opens on June 22nd if you go check out the site. And I think this year, because last year it was in July, but this year it's going to be I think it's September 23rd and 24th.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's I went to my first one last year because I honestly had not heard about it until I started working at well it was Dev at the time. It's Forum now, but because I started it January 2020, so it was virtual last year, but I had a blast and like there was some really great talks and Scott Hansman had a great talk, Saran did too, and like Vida, just a ton of great talks and stuff, and it was a really good time. So I'm
I've heard
definitely
only
excited
good
about it.
things about it.
Yeah.
You all check it out.
Pew pew.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing pew pews now. Pew pew.
I've like started doing this in meetings, and I don't know why. I don't know where it came from, but that's what
My
I'm doing
husband
now.
makes fun of me so much because the pew pew is like my noise for like lasers and stuff, and he thinks it's ridiculous. And I'm like, what other noise do you make for a laser? That is
works.
the noise.
Has he not seen Star Wars or?
Like that is, if I do that noise, people know I'm making a laser noise. It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That was actually a thing in my first team that or my first web team that I was on way back in the day. We would end our stand-ups by going pew pew because web backwards is BEW. And so after we finished doing all of our status, we would be looking around like, is there anything else? Okay, pew pew, pew pew, and then that would be how we end it. And so now I always associate it with ending meetings.
Yeah, I'm still trying to
Yep.
figure out how your husband would not know that's a laser noise. It's the same thing if you hear like wow, you know that's a lightsaber.
I
And I guess
make
he
like
never
sound
sees Star
effects
Wars.
with like everything that I do in life, so he just kind of makes fun of them all in general. But that one specifically, he's just like, that is not a laser, and he makes some other noise I don't even know. But I'm like, no, that's not. No, it's pew pew.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
what you do.
yeah. I think it was like
Yeah.
my third job. I don't know why. They had like a fridge full of energy drink like that was there all the time, and young me was just like, yeah, I'll have another. And then for some reason at that job, I was always making Street Fighter noises. And after you have like two or three
I
lines,
wonder why.
you're like, I do.
Finish him.
Yeah, exactly. Bison. And it's like, oh my God. Anyways, it's the kind of thing like I could probably do that all day and other people would get annoyed for sure, but I'd be laughing my head off. So I don't know. It's the little things, you know. So,
Yeah.
but
When we ultimately do move into the new house, I really want to make some kind of arcade machine. And
Mm.
we like went to the micro center nearby to get some computer part or something, and I saw that they have just all the parts to make arcade machines. So if you want a Street Fighter machine or just like a Raspberry Pi NES or anything like that, oh, I keep thinking about it now, and I'd be so excited to finally be able to build that.
oh man. But,
Nick's gonna add that to the list of things that Cassidy does.
Right?
Now she
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
want to
does.
do this too.
The only thing that's going through my brain right now is pew 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 pew. That's all that's going
Pew
on up there
pew.
right now. And it's like, and I've completely lost my train of thought of what I was gonna say next now. So I don't know. Um, um, I
We do that.
oh yeah, I know what I was gonna talk about. Like we were talking earlier before the stream. Like we started to use well, Christine and I and many others. I'm sure we started using Polywork. I discovered it. I forget where I discovered it. I think somebody I just saw a tweet or something, and then I got one of the invite codes. I think the way I signed up was with Charmander. I can't remember, but and then when I
I was named after this Charmander, actually.
okay. I was laughing because like once I signed up and it shows like showcase profiles and one of yours is a showcase profiles and I said advisor Polywork and then I'm like okay well I'm assuming you must have created all the invite codes because they're all like well not all of them but there was like a few at least that were Pokemon.
I contributed.
Oh, man.
By the way, if anybody on the stream wants an invite code, Bulbasaur, please don't tweet it, but just use it.
Don't tweet it.
Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur. Go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I remember
I really love Polywork. It was something where they had approached me asking to do some advisory work for them. I think it was last summer, like August-ish.
Okay.
But they didn't actually release it until a few months ago.
Mhm.
And it was still very early where they're just like, we want this to be a place where you can just say what you do. We want you to be able to be more than what your job title is on LinkedIn. And so it went through quite a few iterations. Like they actually rewrote the entire platform at one point during in that time. And it's been really exciting to see it evolve and more things are coming. But I love that there's a place where I can just say, I'm going to put all my conference talks here. Or I'm going to put all my podcasts here. Or I'm going to put all my blog posts. So I know Jimena's in the chat. She can put all of her sketch notes from various conferences, which her profile is very cool, by the way. And it's very, very fun.
A link.
Yeah, it's very very fun because you can see all of the different things that people do that you have no idea about. Like
Yeah.
I forget which profile I was looking at recently, but there's a person who's learning how to ski, and
Okay.
their entire profile, like, yes, they're a developer, they do this and that, but they've been posting like, I'm trying to learn how to ski. Here's the different things that I've been trying lately, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love being able to see how holistic people's profiles are, and how different people's profiles are, because it's what you're interested in. It's not just like, this is my professional persona.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know what it is about it. Like to me, the site is simple, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, I think it's harder to make simple things than complex things, and
Hmm.
there's just something about the simplicity of it that I enjoy. Like, oh, I'm just gonna post this. I can tag somebody. Like when we do our streams, I tag Christina and the guest or whatever. And yeah, I like what you're saying too about like just posting stuff that you probably wouldn't see on any other kind of professional network, like I'm not a super handy person, but I can do handy things when push comes to shove. And like because of the pandemic, like I have two daughters, and there's I don't think it exists in the States, but there's hockey in the States and Canada, but there's something called ringette, and think of a hockey stick, but the blade cut off, and instead of playing with a puck, it's a ring, and you have to kind of like skewer the ring, and you pick up the stuff.
Oh,
And it
Mhm.
started off
cool.
as a game for women that couldn't play hockey. Like women can play hockey now and stuff, but it was just like, anyways, she's big into ringette and she loves skating, and it's pandemic, so everything's closed. So I built this like 16 by 24 ice rink in my backyard, uh, and
um
you know I was just like super intimidated to do this. And the funny thing about it was, I used to play rugby, and one of the guys I played rugby with is Australian, and he's been doing this for years. So I had an Australian show a Canadian how to build an ice rink, which cracked me up. But I did it, and I tagged it in my Polywork just for fun, because I'm like, I created a little tag like was handy, and I just posted it. And I just like that, you wouldn't typically post that on a professional network, but I like just the vibe of the whole site. I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna pop that in there, and like, and
yeah,
just I just find
that's awesome.
playfulness to it. It just seems a lot more fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. I love hearing that, because the I every time I see people posting things that aren't just a professional thing, I'm like, yes, that's what I want people to bring more to the workplace, and to different things
Yeah.
that they do and stuff, because when you bring your whole self to any space, then work isn't your life, and it's not expected that work is your life. And
Yeah.
I think that's super important to be able to talk about. And then one other thing that I really like about Polywork is the community management aspect of it,
Yeah.
because that was something that they took a lot of feedback, and really updated it, and it's awesome, where people can message you, but only
Okay.
about certain topics, where you could say,
Oh
okay, I'm
yeah.
willing
Yeah.
to be messaged about these topics. And
Yeah.
then if they message you about something else, it's like very easy to block or report and stuff. And if someone is like spamming a lot of people and enough people block them, they get put on a list where like admins will manually review it, and if they are a spammer or harassing people, they're automatically blocked from the whole site. And I
Okay.
I just love that they thought of that early, and did that first, so that way it can be a safe space, because I so many people get hit on LinkedIn. It's so
Yep.
dumb. But there's no way to stop it. You can just like block, and that's it.
Yep.
And so being able to have that kind of moderation upfront and personal, I think that's great.
I,
Yeah.
I,
My one critique, and I think it's just me. Now that I know where it is, I'm like, oh, duh, that's where it is. But when I was first setting up like my profile, and I was trying to add like what I considered, I guess, like events, to me,
yeah.
they seemed like events, like on the timeline. I was
Mm.
like, how do you create a new one? I could not figure it out until at some point I was like, oh, there's a post button.
That that
Okay.
That's
that's the
that's
post
what that's
button.
for. But it took me way too long to figure out that, oh, I could just use this post button
This
to
gigantic
add.
button in the header. Maybe, but that's good feedback. I can tell them to have a better intro, to be like, if you want to
Um,
add something, click that or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's because it like lets you like add like a few events, I think, at the beginning, like as you're like coming in or whatever. And I just like I had a few there and I was like, okay, and I'm like around in that area, expecting there's to be like a button or something
Yeah,
in that timeline area for me to add something, and I'm like, there's nothing here. How do I add a post? And then I realized, oh, it's up there. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I generally I find it works well. There's some like technical things I've been taking note of that I think could be like improved, not in a negative way, just like some easy wins I feel. But
There's a submit a bug in the upper right-hand corner that I
Mhm.
highly recommend that you use
okay,
because I use it very, very liberally, and they actually add pretty much every single thing to their backlog of stuff, and they're very, very
okay,
good
cool.
about that.
Oh,
But
definitely.
liberally use that.
All right, no, definitely will. Cool. Yeah. No, it's yeah. I've got Bew going on in my head again. Sorry. It's like
Pew,
ruined me for the
pew.
stream. My whole thought process is gone now. It's like
I really Jimena posted her link. I like that her subdomain is doing things.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of timeline. I've seen a lot of like stuff or whatever, but I like doing things. I think that one's a fun one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I saw Kelly Vaughn's because I use a custom domain too, and I had it as updates.imdeveloper.com at first, and then I saw yours. You use timeline, so I was like, that sounds cooler. I'll use that. But now I got to switch it to doing things now. Oh man.
Ah. Well, I saw someone also did changelog, and I thought that one was kind of
Oh
cool
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's nice because I do the change log for our company, so that'd be fun.
Ooh, yeah, a personal
yeah, yeah.
changelog.
Do the things. That's
Do the
right.
things.
Do things.
But yeah, it's been very fun, and also like to populate mine, I truly like I was playing Civilization because it's a great like turn-based game, and
Okay.
so just in between turns, I'd be just like, okay, I'm going through my calendar, and I'll just write down all the things that I did in this particular month or whatever. And so I went back to like October last year.
Okay. Okay.
I still have things to add that are like old, but I'm just like, for now, this is good enough, and I'll add more later.
Yeah, I didn't end up going back into like a whole. I probably could add some back, but like I've just been adding what I've done newer. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Put the newer stuff.
And and I did
I'm
have a question about it though. Like so, like when I created a tag, because like you can create your own tags. There's existing tags that folks have created. At what point does it get associated automatically with like a bigger theme? Like so, for example, open source, and like maybe my tag isn't one of the ones that connects automatically to open source. Is it like kind of like once they see, oh, 50 people, tag this open source, will promote it to be automatically connected, or how does?
You actually can do that on your profile itself, where you could be like I did this 2 days ago. This is not meant to be a brag. I did this a couple days ago because I went on Good Morning America, and there's not really a tag for something like that. And so I made the tag, and then after making it, I clicked assign to badge, and so then I was able
Mhm.
to assign it to a specific badge.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
like
no,
I have a badge that I created, Mom and Tech, which I just see 7 people use now. Yeah. But yeah, you can create a badge.
yeah, no,
Mm.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I know I can assign it. Maybe it's just me being silly, but like, say I assign it to open source. At what point would my custom tag I created get adopted as like one that's actually you don't have to assign the badge? You know what I mean? It would always get associated to it because there's
It should do that every time.
okay,
Like once a badge is created, you can start typing it and search for it until the existing one shows up.
okay, okay,
There have been ones where I've created it and like I'll have to search for it and it has to think a little bit before it actually pulls up my existing one.
okay,
Um, but it should.
okay.
They are trying to improve that. They're actually like hiring community moderators and stuff to clean up badges and improve badges and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure Christina can talk to this, but like moderation in community, it's like a big thing. I mean, we work at forums, so like that's like our bread and butter. But
That's
like,
what you do. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like moderation is such an important thing. And like you were saying, like I mean, the way
Mhm.
the messaging system's set up, I think that's great already. But like I guess that's really the only point of contact with folks right now. Like there's no notion of, and I think this is done explicitly, not to gamify things, where people are liking things.
Hmm.
It's just meant to be like, here's what I do. You don't need to tell me you like it or heart it or whatever.
Right. Yeah. No, and they do that on purpose. I said do.
Yeah.
They do that on purpose because they want it to stay genuine. And so if you
Okay.
start posting things and hoping that it'll get a lot of likes, then you don't post the real things anymore. You post the things that you can gamify. And so they
Yeah,
very
yeah.
purposely don't do that. I do think that they're trying to figure out a way where you can like say, I saw this post and I thought it was cool or something without
Yeah.
conveying that as a like, but it's a mindset because we've been very trained towards the like system with
Hmm.
other social media platforms.
Yeah, it's something we've had conversations about at forum before too, because you you want to make a great product, but you don't want it to be like, you want people to like your product, but you don't necessarily want to bring in bad tendencies, like make people addicted, and stuff, and
Right.
uh, just all these kind of not necessarily dark patterns of social media, but it's a really hard problem to crack. You want people to really love your product, but not to the point where they're like, yeah, I can't go to bed, I'm still scrolling, kind of. But you kind of do. You
Right.
don't want too much, like, maybe
It's a
2 hours of,
balance.
yeah. So it's just interesting problems because it's not really a technical problem. It's more like, being socially responsible. So
It's like a psychological ethical problem.
yeah, yeah,
I think the way that you do it is really good though, because like for example, I got a badge of some kind for like posting 4 weeks in a row or something, and I was like,
yeah,
ooh, I should keep posting to see which other badges I could get and stuff like that. And so there is that element of it which I definitely enjoy.
Yeah.
oh, we just gotta follow.
I got the
That
email
was the whole
for
thing with the Bug Smash recently. I just let people wanted badges. They got a Bug Smash badge. Yay.
ooh
Yeah, yeah.
fun.
They helped.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to segue there, but yeah, in terms of dev too, you're actually a moderator of the Next.js tag, I believe, because I've seen you, because I'm
Mm.
all the employees are moderators as well, but so I've seen you in there as well. So I think that's great. Again, this like you're doing so many things, like it's great that you're moderating that tag. I know you post a lot of stuff there too. It's not just your own stuff. Sometimes it's Netlify posts and stuff, but again, just
Right.
like another
It's
vector.
it's always like
Um,
posts I author, but then sometimes I forget to turn it from personal to Netlify or vice versa. And at this
yeah,
point, it doesn't really matter. But,
yeah,
but yeah, it's fun to see all the different posts that come up under Next.js. I admit I'm not like the most active moderator in the world. It's more like I make sure to check to make sure there's not spam, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
these are high quality. But it's fun. It's fun to see all the posts that come in.
yeah. And it is tough to moderate, like, because like I was a moderator before I started working there, and but now that I'm like working on the product all the time, I don't have as much time to moderate. But thankfully, we have a lot of other trusted users in the community, so that's definitely helpful. But
And our
Mhm.
community success team.
oh yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah,
They moderate.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Cool, cool.
It's been an interesting the whole moderation thing I think is what a lot of people in tech are trying to solve right now.
Yeah,
One of the things I do, I work with Stack Overflow. I help them write their newsletter and I help them host their podcast too. And their entire team is just like Stack Overflow is very historically not the kindest place in the world. So how do we
yeah,
make it more welcoming and stuff? And they've been doing a lot of really interesting work towards like training people more, trying to say like, okay, don't say this when someone has a legitimate question, and
yeah,
and
yeah,
being able to do that sort of thing. And it's been interesting to see the shift because it has been like 2 or 3 years since they've started doing it, and
yeah,
it's a very big ship that they have to turn, but it's slowly happening, and you see more people where they don't have
yeah,
to hide under a certain pseudonym to be able to get their questions answered and stuff. And uh, I do uh, I do give them kudos for improving that because that is again a very big ship to move. But it's great to see
yeah,
all of these newer companies come into play where that is what they think of first. And so that it's not a ship that they have to move, it's a boat that's already going in the right direction.
Yeah, the Suez Canal 2.0 or
Yeah.
yeah, it's been interesting to see it because like I joined Stack Overflow when it first started, and I would as a developer you're like I was like super happy to be able to answer questions and then like or just post my own questions, and it was super welcoming in the beginning, and I don't know at what point there was a tipping point where it just got kind of ugly and
Wasn't.
yeah
I think there's always a tipping point when you have a certain amount of growth, and there's a certain
yeah
even like that was something over the last like year or so, even at Dev, like we've had to think about and change up and consider as Dev has gotten bigger, and now that we're starting other forums, and how do we help those forums with their moderation? It's just this like once you hit a certain amount of people, no matter what you do in a community and how much you're trying to like encourage and you put the right things, that like there's always going to be something that like tends to be louder and more awful, and then once that one person or two people are loud and awful, then other people are and then you're just like, okay.
And that happens everywhere too, like in companies as well, where you never know what might shift your company culture too.
No, for sure. So it's good to hear that they're turning that ship around, because like even as like an experienced developer, I answered something about TypeScript there a few years ago, and like it started getting negatives like right away. Like I was my reputation was going down, and like it was like just
my
pile on.
points, my internet points.
Yeah, I was like, no. So, and I deleted it right away. And then I haven't, I mean, I still go there to check out things, because there's still lots of valuable information there. But anyways, I'm just glad they're turning that around. But it really is that the moderation is the big nut to crack. Maybe AlphaGo can help us.
Yeah, it'll solve humans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
Luke in the chat. Oh, go ahead, Cassie.
Oh no, it's fine. Orbit had a dev rel about new companies.
Well, up above that, he was asking about kind of like the dev post moderation and the impact there. And I just mentioned we'll likely at some point have our. I do a lot with moderation in different areas, especially on our open source repo, but we have a wonderful community success team that does the moderation for dev and our other bigger forums and stuff. And we will likely be begging them and asking them sometime soon to come on the stream to kind of talk about all of that. So yeah.
And also just one other thing, Kirk, who's TK Shillings in the chat, saying he recently created a Stack Overflow account, and it's been pretty positive, his experience there so far.
Nice.
That's good.
Yeah, it has been a major effort. Like that's actually, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but that's actually why they brought me on to help with the newsletter, because they're just like, we want to show that it's not just us saying like we are high and mighty and controlling this community. They're trying to bring in myself and then various other people too in the community to help them guide the efforts and to show that this is first and foremost.
Yeah,
no, that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
and kudos
fake
to you,
internet points. Oh, thank you. Those fake internet points are worth more than your life, Buster.
Yep.
Some user. Oh, we got some boops coming in here. We do not have boops like Jason's stream, but we do have an overlay. But I'm gonna add some stuff eventually. I have some funny stuff on my own stream, but haven't had time to have moving stuff.
Hi, Phil.
Yeah, take care, Phil. Thanks for popping by. Well, Phil's leaving, and we're kind of getting around to 30. I don't know if we want to call it here, or do you have anything else you want to talk about, or we can like pew pew our way out of here, or.
I mean, I could chat with y'all a lot, but I should also probably eat some food.
All right. No, that sounds.
Go back to her strawberries.
I forgot to eat lunch, so that's a good plan, I think. Well, just want to say thanks so much for coming on, Cassidy. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, you're busy, and so really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us. And honestly, it's a blast. So just thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll ping you in the future.
Cool. Bye, everybody.
Awesome. Well, in that case, pew pew.
Pew pew.
Pew pew.